now listening to the Dreaming of Freedom podcast on the 2 Cents FC network.
All right, welcome back to the Dreaming of Freedom podcast, where we talk about all things black soccer in MLS. I'm Jermaine.
I'm Callie.
Sometimes they call me AD.
And we are members of Black Herons United, an independent black supporters group for Inter Miami and all things black soccer in South Florida.
For episode 27, we talk Messi and therefore Inter Miami greatness, war, and racism in MLS playoffs.
Shocking.
Right, you already know. So we are back like COVID-19.
Goddamn.
And Callie, I know. Speaking of keeping one's distance, Tyreek Hill, best Dolphins wide receiver of all time. Hope you're feeling better, man. How you doing?
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm getting over a nasty bout. I won't get into all the pleasant details for all y'all. Tyreek Hill, best wide receiver of all time. That's a tough ask.
Dolphins
best
wide
Dolphins receiver of all time. And still, I think it's a tough ask just because it's been 2 years. You know, we've had some great ones, man, like Chris Chambers, the Mark brothers, you know, but man, on pace to have the best season for a wide receiver in NFL history. I mean, the thing is, every time he goes deep, he runs that route, he breaks someone's ankles, you're very likely you're about to see the deuces, baby. So he's fun to watch, man. He's a lot of fun to watch.
Man, that's one of the best things in NFL right now. The
I love it. I love it.
And the Dolphins celebration, like every week, there's another like fantastic one.
Yeah. AD.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you more a fan of Miami Dolphins or Miami Heat?
That's a tough question for me because I'm like more of a fan of American football than I am of basketball. But I've been a fan of the Heat longer than I have of the Miami Dolphins because when I was young, I was all over the place. I was bandwagoning. It was ugly. Anyway, so I was like a fan of the Cowboys when I was little, and then the Falcons because I liked Vic a lot, and then finally I moved to my home team. But Heat, I feel like I've always been a fan. But
yo, that's a fascinating.
I'll say
story.
Heat. I should have just said that in the beginning. My bad.
Long story short, yeah. Heat.
Ramble.
For me, it's kind of the opposite. Like I've always like supported the Heat because they're my hometown team, and like I was all in on like the LeBron era, the Shaq era, you know, D Wade obviously, but like, man, I just don't pay attention. I guess I don't have it within my sports bandwidth to pay attention to basketball that much because it's just there's so much else to watch, and you know, but like now during the stretch, I'll watch a lot more basketball because there's not like, you know, like baseball's done and stuff like that, so it kind of fills in the gaps during the week sometimes. But I won't like if the Heat lose, I don't care, to be honest. I'll start paying attention to the playoffs though.
Yikes. Sure. Yeah, you know, I feel like I'm in the middle, right? Like I feel like NBA season, like it's like the beginning of NBA season is tough, right? It's in the middle of football season. Obviously MLS is still going on, right? I mean, the beginning of European soccer is popping off. So there's a lot going on for NBA to kind of creep in, right, in the beginning of October. But I don't know. I feel like equally, you know, Dolphins, Heat, we just, you know, we got to ride for the home team, right? We just got to ride for the home team. Obviously, Dolphins are absolutely killing it right now, and we've been kind of playing around with this idea of the top 5 Dolphins players all time to be excellent soccer players. Football players, footy players. AD, Callie, any thoughts on that prompt?
Oh, I've got thoughts.
Also, you mentioned him earlier when we started, and you also mentioned him in this preliminary list that we were tossing about before the show. Shout out to Chris Chambers, man. That just OG wide receiver. Yeah, man. Like he's just the receiver that I remember growing up. Like, okay, Chris Chambers is that dude.
When I was growing up, like as a Dolphins fan, like a kid in the '90s and stuff like that, like Chris Chambers was it, bro. Like, you know, he was part of that team. But I got my list ready for top 5 Dolphins players that I think would be great. And I now after thinking about it, I have like an honorable mention one, but
ooh, I love a good OLI.
Yeah. So
listen, yeah, go for it, bro.
All right.
Go for it.
So first one, I think it goes without saying. Like I go between like, is this guy like, would we want him like on the wing, like just running upfield, getting that ball in, or you want him just burning the central defense? And it's the obvious answer. It's Tyreek Hill, right? Like, dude's fast, strong as hell, quick with his feet. Like everything you want in like a striker, offensive type of player, right? He'll absolutely burn through any back line. Like, that's it. Next, I think this guy would be like a great like attacking midfield, just strength in the middle. Not super fast or anything like that, but strong, instinctive, and my dude likes to smoke weed a little bit. Ricky Williams, who's
Ricky.
Run, Ricky, run, baby. Like that dude is like the pinnacle of my Dolphins fandom. He was absolutely incredible, and I do think his game would translate well. Next, I think he would be a great wing-back type, can play great defense, great on the ball, great eye, can get up and down the field when needed to, but just lock down receivers. Sam Madison, who was one of my favorite players growing up also. A guy that we talked about him, this is going to be the third time we mentioned him today. All right, can do everything right. All right, maybe not the fastest, maybe not the biggest, maybe not the strongest, but just so good at what he does. Chris Chambers. And then finally, the most important thing in soccer is kicking the ball, right? How do you not get Alindo Mari on the free kicks? Dude had damn near perfect seasons every year. And then my OLI, my honorable mention, dude, just strong as hell. I would have loved to see him just body someone on the pitch, just running full steam. Cam Wake.
Wow.
Can't
Great
wait.
Dolphin name.
Yes, it is. Actually, all of them are pretty incredible Dolphins names.
I've been waiting for
Ricky, Sam Madison. Yeah, maybe even maybe even Patrick Surtain.
Yeah,
ooh,
throw him in there.
Take that.
What about like positions? So like Chris Chambers, right? Like where are we putting him on the field? Is he like your 6? Is he in the back line? What do we think?
Honestly, I probably put Sam Madison on the 6 because he's 5'11", but he's strong.
Okay.
So fast, and again, lockdown defender. I'd probably put Chris Chambers as like a wingback. He can hold his ground. He can move up the pitch. Tyreek, I'd just throw him at the 9. Throw that dude at the 9. Just go run, baby. Just go do your thing. Alindo Mari, I don't know, man. Make that dude a fucking center back that kicks free kicks. Like, I don't know, athletic.
Bro, that's perfect, bro. That's a perfect answer for that, man. Bro.
Athletically, like whatever, like just we can stash him if we have a good back line and just hope for the best. Who else did I say?
Ricky.
Oh, Ricky. Yeah, Ricky. I think he'd be like a 10. Like attacking midfielder type. Like he can still get to the goal. He can get there, but he was so inquisitive and so strong in the middle.
Yeah, I like that.
I feel like that's the one right there, man.
I like that.
He gets the outside if he needed to, but he was best between the tackles.
Okay, that's fair. Now, AD,
talk to me.
I mentioned this guy. I mentioned this brother earlier. And I feel like you're throwing some shade at him. Jay Ajayi, man. Come on, man.
Let me say that since he's originally from the UK, his game would translate.
Absolutely. But
at the moment we were talking about like greatest Dolphins, and I'm like, that's a real high place to put Jay Ajayi.
That's fair. Okay. That's fair. Jay Ajayi, for the record, is not one of the greatest Dolphins players, right? However, he would be a hell of a footy player.
Yes.
On a 505.
I'll never forget the absolute shock of when we drafted him. And then there's like an interview. Like I'm casually sitting in my house, like watching TV, like Dolphin show, and on at the time was it Florida Sun Sports or whatever. Like, oh, we have an interview with JHI. I'm like, okay, cool. I remember him, running back from Boise State, whatever. I start hearing this dude talk. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? What is this accent coming out of your mouth? And I said, I'm like, where the fuck is this guy from? And sure enough, he's born and raised in England.
But
Imagine
grew
going
up
through-
in Texas.
Yeah.
So he had
And
the
then it's
little
like,
Texas twang. Sorry.
Yeah, he was like British with a Texas twang. He's like, man, like the Confederates would have been so confused about this guy. They would have had no idea what to do. And
That's so
and then to
funny.
play college football in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you got
And
about three different places.
he balled in college. He balled in
Yeah,
college.
he did. Very good in college.
He really did. Yeah. He's not. I mean, no, he's not in the league anymore.
No.
When did he retire?
I think he was kind of like forced into retirement because he just kind of stopped being like super productive.
Yeah.
So with the
He
Dolphins,
also had bad knees, though, right?
yeah. So with the Dolphins, he had 1,272 yards with 8 touchdowns in 2016. All right. His next best year after the following year, when we traded him he started off with us. He played 7 games with us. We traded him to Philly.
Right.
He had 873 yards that year with 1 touchdown. And then after that, there was 0 production. He wasn't in the league anymore.
I remember this one clip of him from Philly where he broke out into the open field and he's running like solo dolo to the end zone and he gets chased down by the defender and he gets tackled and they like score a couple plays later. But on the bench, they were making fun of him and they're like, bro, how slow are you? And he's like, I'm sorry. And that's all I can remember from him now.
Yeah. But didn't Mans have like a couple of like 200-yard rushing games for the Dolphins?
He was nice.
Like a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Consecutive,
yeah.
I think.
Nah. That's right. Man, yeah. Jay Ajayi, man, I think he would ball out on a football field, on a football pitch,
Really quick, sorry, just a couple random Dolphins to be soccer player notes. One, I might move Tyreek to the wing just so I can put Ocho Cinco at the top.
Yes. I was just going to say Ocho.
Let's go.
He never played in the regular season for us because he got cut.
He put the jersey on. A win is a win.
He put the jersey on. Damn it.
And he played in high school.
Right.
And he traveled with Sporting KC.
There you go. And then I'm putting Tua at the 10, Jalen and X at the wing backs. I don't know.
I love that contemporary edition of what what a football squad might look like from this contemporary squad, bro. Jalen Ramsey, bro. I don't think I realized how tall Jalen Ramsey was, bro. Like when he picked off Mac Jones.
Oh yeah, he looked kind of.
Was it Mac Jones, bro? That man, I'm like, damn, that dude is tall, bro. He's just like striding down the field. I'm like, god damn.
How tall is he?
Bro, he's gonna be nice.
And I'll never forget him absolutely massacring the Miami Hurricanes for 4 years, 3 years. He is 6'1".
6'1". God damn. How tall is X? I feel like X is so much. It feels. I don't know. I just feel like Jalen Ramsey just felt really big on screen.
I'm guessing 5'10".
David Howard also 6'1".
Really?
What? Yeah.
They don't even look the same height.
That's nuts.
They're only 5 pounds off in weight, so maybe it's like weight distribution or something like that. But because the thing about Jalen is, yeah, X is a little thick with 2 C's, and then while as Jalen, I feel like that dude's cut like a Greek statue,
right?
Like he's a different breed physically, I think. But yeah, they're the same height. X is 5 pounds lighter, but. This is just going off of Pro Football Reference too, so who knows?
Wait, X is lighter?
X is lighter by 5 pounds, according to Pro Football Reference, which I'm assuming is taking beginning of year weigh-ins and stuff like that.
Jesus.
Anyway.
Man. Yeah, so speaking of soccer in Miami, speaking of football dreams in Miami, first of all, shout out to the Black Herons, Olive and York. jerseys. We live. You see it. But also shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to Inter Miami player Lionel Messi grabbing his 8th Ballon d'Or. Were y'all excited to hear that one of our players?
I know
one of our players got it.
I think the World Cup locked that up for him. I know people were gonna make the case for Haaland to win it, and within league play, Haaland was obviously incredible, but Messi did it in several competitions, and he won the World Cup, and he's Lionel Messi, so he was always going to win it. And to be fair, this might be a hot take. I don't give the Ballon. I don't take the Ballon d'Or super seriously just because I think it's 100% a popularity contest. So it's like there's like again, and I guess I have to mention a Man City player here. Like Ruben Diaz finishing 30th is like stupid. Like that guy was easily a top 10 player in the world last year. And that's about as far as I'll go to say positive things about Manchester City players. But
thank you.
Right, I'm like, keep going, bro. That sounds nice, bro. Sounds very nice.
And not to get into a tangent here, but even the women's one was kind of a disaster. Like Bunny Shaw was like 24th in the world in Ballon d'Or. Are you kidding me?
That's nuts.
That was wild.
That's nuts.
Linda Caicedo, like I saw Linda Caicedo like 9th. I'm like, that still feels a little low. Lauren James was like 8th. Oh my god, that still feels a little low. But like I do think the right player won, but it's like, at the end of the day, like Emi Martinez winning the best goalkeeper in the world is like, come on.
Heavily weighing on the World Cup performances because
but it doesn't make sense because Ederson finished 2nd and Ederson didn't start in any games in the World Cup. And the one game he did play on was when Brazil had already advanced. It was a garbage group game and they lost. So it's like, what's the metric here?
It's that Man City name. It holds weight,
Whatever.
As it rightly should. Treble winners. Anyways,
don't get me started.
Shout out big shout out to Lionel for doing this thing. It just feels good to, hey, we got him on the team. We got a Ballon d'Or champion on the squad. So I was doing some quick little research on Ballon d'Or winners. Shout out to Ruud Gullit of the Netherlands. George Weah. Shout out to George Weah doing his thing. Who else? I was actually trying to figure out who, because like all the talk is, this is the first time an MLS player is a Ballon d'Or champion, and I was trying to figure out if there were any other earlier relationships or any other earlier connections between Ballon d'Or winners and MLS, and Ruud Gullit was the head coach for the Galaxy, right? So he kind of had that Ballon d'Or title already to his name. Kaká, we don't talk about Orlando like that over here, but Kaká was a Ballon d'Or winner. He went to Orlando shortly thereafter. So, there's a few connections that MLS has to Ballon d'Or winners. But this, of course, is the first time that a current MLS player was named Ballon d'Or winner. So, obviously for kind of obvious reasons. But, so shout out to Lionel. Shout out to Inter Miami. Boy, this club is gonna murk that name until that man leaves. They're going to profit the hell out of this man's name until he leaves. We got the email about the Noche d'Or for the club. Yes, it's like $500 to go watch a friendly and to look at the fucking trophy.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Sorry.
Yo, it really does stink though. Like it really does. Like it's absolutely nuts. I mean, shout out to Lionel for taking the trophy around to the academy, showing them to the players. That was a really beautiful moment. Showing them to the staff and all of the other employees of Inter Miami. So yeah, special moment for the club. But of course, the club is gonna club. Capitalism is gonna capitalism. So the supporters are currently here, suffering. Continuously. Anyways, speaking of suffering, Palestine. Let's get into it.
Goddamn.
Okay, so obviously this is an incredibly polarizing topic. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but we felt almost a responsibility to talk about it, because war crimes are being committed, right? War crimes are being committed. International war crimes, international laws are being violated, right? Um, Now, to be clear, this latest escalation of violence, this latest escalation of conflict, is in direct response to the October 7th attacks by Hamas against Israel, right? This is what has led to Israel's retaliation um, in this past month recently, right? Um, so I just want to be clear about a few things, right? Because I've been trying to follow a lot of the debates and a lot of the history about, behind all these things. And I think both, a number of things can be true at the same time, right? And I don't think people are grappling with that, right? Hamas committed a terrorist attack, right? They committed international war crimes by targeting civilians, right? They killed close to 1,400 Israelis. That is an international war crime, right? Israel then responds, and they have also committed international war crimes, right? By targeting innocent civilians. Okay? And so I think both of those facts can be true at the same time, right? A lot of people are trying to pick a side and say, "Well, no, this is Hamas's fault. This is Palestine's fault. Oh no, this is Israel's fault." Well, I think both can be true in the moment, right? In that particular moment. Now it's important, of course, to talk about the historical context. And please, Callie and Ades, feel free to interject and jump in whenever you want, right? Just cut me off if I'm just going in too much. But just a quick couple of notes, right, about the historical context of what we're talking about with Israel and Palestine. Okay, so there's a lot of history to this. I'm gonna start with 1947, right, when the United Nations, following World War II, right, sanctioned the creation of an Israeli and Palestinian state, right? A Jewish state for Israel and an Arab state for Palestine, right? Israel accepted this delineation, right? This delineation of the borders, right, of their country. Palestine didn't, right? And the other neighboring Arab countries also did not accept these UN boundaries, right? Because it felt like Palestinians were not being respected enough, right? They felt like they were getting, a small portion of the land that they felt was their rightful homeland, right? So they went to war, right? Palestine and the surrounding Arab nations rejected the plan, leading to the Arab-Israeli War in 1948. The result was that Israel took control beyond their original borders, right? So the UN borders that they laid out was that Israel, kind of, if we think of the modern Israel boundaries now, was a little bit shorter, right? And Palestine had a little bit more land than it does now, right? But after the 1948 war, Israel took up pieces of Palestine, right, all the way up into Jerusalem. So that's how we currently have the East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem, right? The result of this war, right, is what Palestinians call the Nakba, right, which is the displacement of over 750,000 Palestinians, right? The displacement of Palestinians that were now residing in what is Israel. They had to be displaced from their homes, right, to what is now the Gaza Strip and the occupied West Bank. Okay, so there's this whole conversation, right, about a right to return, right, for these Palestinians, right, that they have yet to access, that they have yet to experience this right to return, right? So you had the creation of the state of Israel. Jordan is now in control of the West Bank. Egypt is now in control of Gaza Strip. Fast forward to 1967, you have the 6-Day War, where Israel then takes over both the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and even parts of Egypt and Syria. Okay, This is the official start of the occupation, and this is when we begin to see the creation and the establishment of the Israeli settlements in these occupied territories. Okay. Um, of course, with Israeli settlements comes a lot of issues, right? This is where the whole idea about, settler colonialism. Let me stop there. I don't know if any of y'all want to jump in about this issue of settlements, kind of the issues that settlements are causing kind of in these occupied territories of Palestine.
Yeah. Just as a preface, and I've mentioned it before, I'm a history major. I'm working on my master's. So it's something that I've studied quite a bit, and I'm not going to pretend to know all the nuances of everything. All I have are facts that I've studied, that I've learned about. And even outside of Israel and Palestine, I cannot think of a single time when settlerism or colonialism has resulted positively. We've seen it cause strife throughout the entire world, especially in the West. And we've seen it plenty in the Middle East, and I think the highlight of we've seen it in Europe with England and Italy and Rome, and we can point to a lot of it of how colonialism leads to displacement, it leads to poverty, it leads to discrimination, it leads to apartheid, it leads to ethnic cleansing. Um, and America is just as guilty of it as anybody. But in this specific instance, um, a lot of what we're seeing today is a result of all of these things that happened 30, 40, 50 years ago. And now what we're seeing is one group, the Palestinians, who want their home back. They want their land back. And we also have to understand the religious underlyings of what this land means. This is literally a holy place to both Islam and to Jewish people. So when you when you mix geopolitical issues with religion, it causes bloodshed. Both of those things individually cause bloodshed. This has the unfortunate circumstances of having both. And this is something that this is something that's happened before 1947. If you're a fan of the Bible and if you've read it, this is something that's touched on in there. This is something that's touched on in the Quran. And this is something that's touched on in the Talmud, the Septuagint, the apocryphal books. This is all mentioned. And as someone who has read most of those things, there's so much that kind of regardless of what you believe religiously, there is a thread that connects all those things, and that is that each group believes they have a claim to this place. So it's led to this settlerism and colonialism, which has led to bloodshed, and unfortunately the Palestinians have gotten the brunt end of that, which I'll get into later, but that's my touch on settlerism and colonialism.
Yeah, and it's just it's the conflicts, right, that all of this kind of materializes, right? It creates conflict, right? As Callie mentioned, it's not just the geopolitical context, but it's the religious context, right? And so what we saw on October 7th, yes, it was terrible. Yes, it was terrorism. Yes, it was an international war crime. Yes, they killed innocent civilians. And it was part of a long history of conflict between the two parties, right? Israel would like to tell you this war is started by Hamas, right? History starts on October 7th. Unfortunately, that is not the case. History does not start on October 7th, right? So we have to understand this long historical context, right? That when you have a people like the Palestinians who are under military control, and just to give you a sense, Gaza, right, is under a blockade, right? Prior to the war, Israel controlled the borders, the land borders, they controlled the airspace, right? And they controlled the Mediterranean, the waters, right? Gaza didn't control any of that, okay? In the occupied West Bank, right? The UN and other international bodies have said this is a state of apartheid. Israel is a state of apartheid because they treat Palestinians differently, based off of their ethnicity. They are Palestinians, therefore they cannot go down this one particular street.
It is quite literally.
Okay?
This is quite literally in the most. I can't emphasize how literal this translates to apartheid. This is as much as this is the most obvious, clear-cut case of apartheid that we have witnessed in recent history.
Yes, absolutely. Right? I mean, when you, again, right, just read, right, do some research, figure out, and you know, do some research on both ends of the debate, right? You have to figure out what both sides are arguing, right, to get a true understanding of the complexity of the situation, right? But you know, I was watching, you know, Ta-Nehisi Coates the other day, and he said, you know, everyone talks about this being a very complex situation, and it's very, you know, it's just a very, you know, complex, complicated situation to understand. He's like, listen, when you go to the occupied West Bank, it's not complicated at all, right? It's very clear cut what is wrong, right, and what is right, right? It's very clear cut. There's nothing complex about the fact that Palestinians can't walk outside of their houses without checking with the checkpoints, right outside their houses, right? There's nothing complicated about Palestinians not being able to drive down certain streets or even walk down certain streets, right? Because Israel occupies the territory, right?
I think it's also important to mention that the fault here is not with Israel, the people. The fault here is not with Jewish people, okay? And I know this with this conversation, what's happening, and it's so fresh and it's affecting so many people that people are quick to scream Islamophobia or anti-Semitism and things like that. I think all of us that see things for kind of what they are in terms of what Palestine is experiencing, we have no ill will towards the Jewish people. The Where the criticism comes is towards the Israeli government, the Israeli military, the Israeli leaders. Okay.
That's right.
This is nothing short of genocide. This is nothing short of apartheid. And yes, what Hamas did, and I want to make this insanely clear, as Jermaine did, it was awful. It was terrible. It was an international war crime. It was one of the most disgusting things I saw that a lot of us saw in real time. We saw them parachuting in and jumping into these music festivals and kidnapping people. We saw that on our fingertips, on our iPhones. We saw that happening live. Okay, and it was awful. Okay. Now, again, this wasn't the first, the last, or the worst thing that's gonna happen in conflict with these two. Okay. Because what Palestine has experienced at the hand of the Israeli government, not Israeli people, not Jewish people, because there are Jewish people and Islamic people and Israeli people and Palestinian people that live harmoniously, that wish no ill will towards each other, that just want peace like everyone else. This is strictly geopolitical from the leaders right now, okay? But with a lot of things, okay, when what we need to understand with terrorist organizations and with attacks like that, no one rolls out of bed and decides I'm going to attack these people because I'm bored today. This is pent up aggression from being punched in the mouth for a long time. And again, Hamas are a terrible organization. They are terrible people. It is disgusting. It is horrible. It is reprehensible in every sense of the word, and there are no words to describe how disgusting it is. But when people tend to look at the Middle East and this region as some sort of monolith, like that started on 9/11 from our end, that all Middle Eastern people are terrorists, and Israel's our allies and all that stuff. What we have to understand is that the victims here, and something we're seeing in real time, is something that's going to change textbooks. It's going to change history books. It's going to change, like, we're going to look at this event 20 years down the line, and our kids are going to be learning this in schools and in universities and in case studies about how badly Palestine had it during this point. Okay, because yes, what Hamas did was terrible, and murdering 1,400 people and kidnapping dozens of others, or whatever the number is. I'm not fairly certain, so I won't say it confidently. But Israel is using this as an excuse to turn Gaza into glass. They gave them a 24-hour evacuation notice and just started killing people. tens of thousands have died. Palestinian people have died already in days. Not, I mean, a month, not even. And I read recently that an entire generations of certain neighborhoods and cities in Palestine no longer exist because all the kids have died. Several places throughout Gaza and Palestine no longer have schools because not because the buildings are not because the buildings are gone, but because the kids are dead, you know. And it's a heartbreaking situation, and there are no winners in war. And it's definitely heartbreaking, but we need to understand this from the lens historically, and we need to look at this to the best of our ability, and myself as a historian, through facts, through sources, and critically analyze those things. And in no way, shape, or form are there any data that support the fact that Israel is justified in what they're doing.
And there's an argument about proportionality, right? That the argument is that Israel has a right to self-defense, which I even think is up for question when we account for different UN resolutions that have actually said Israel does not have a right for self-defense when it pertains specifically to occupied territories, right? The fact that Israel itself does not recognize Palestine as a state, right? As a sovereign state, that means the right for self-defense does not apply, right? Because the right for self-defense only applies for aggression from another state, right? From another official recognized state. So if you are not recognizing that threat as a state, right, then you cannot have that right for self-defense. And according to the UN, because that threat is coming from an occupied territory, that disqualifies you, right, from that right of self-defense. Anyways, even if we said you did have that right to self-defense, there is still the question of proportionality, right? And so only 1,400 Israelis were killed on October 7th, right? Many of them innocent civilians, right? Men, women, and children, right? Since then, over 9,000 Palestinians have died. 9,000, right? Again, the majority of them innocent civilians, nearly 4,000 of them children, okay? So entire neighborhoods, like Callie said, entire generations are being wiped out. And I think for me, and we can end on this note because we have want to end on a little brighter note. But I think for me, what bothers me the most is the U.S. response, right? Is the response of our country, right? Because at the end of the day, our tax dollars, right, are going towards Israel, right? And again, Callie made a fantastic point. This is not against the Israeli people. This is not against the Jewish people, right? This is not against the Jewish religion, right? We are talking about the Israeli government, right? Their far right-wing government, right? That is bent on, according to their words, wiping out Gaza, okay? Our tax dollars are going towards that, right? The U.S. is supporting Israel in that, right? They're refusing to call for a ceasefire. They've called for a humanitarian pause, right? I would love to be in the room during that conversation, right? Do we call them a ceasefire? No, let's frame it as a humanitarian pause. Like, come on, like, bro, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing right now? Right. So I think that's, let's end there, right? Let's end on a call to the US, to make a specific demand, right, for a ceasefire, right? I think that's something that the US should get behind, right? Millions of people throughout the world are protesting in support of Palestine, right? And I think it's not a difficult ask to say, let's stop killing innocent civilians. I don't think it's that difficult to do,
Yeah.
right? And the U.S. being, the land of the free, home of democracy, right? We should be the first ones declaring that.
Yeah, I think it also. I saw today that President Biden said that, the calls for people calling for a ceasefire is making it undeniable that they're going to have to make a decision about it shortly. So I think it's one I and this is one of the good parts I think about uh about social media and the growth of mass media these days, and I think it also speaks volumes that like so many people are on the side of humanity, which is I think is being lost a lot today, and specifically in this conflict. Um, let your voice heard. Like, you think it's just a tweet, you think it's just a post, and I know that's stigmatized in the sense like, oh, you're just posting that for information so everyone knows what side you're on. But man, you never know how, like, words are strong, and words have impact, and words carry weight. And maybe you don't change anybody's mind, but you know, collectively, communally, it's important that we show solidarity with people who are suffering on the Palestinian side, and even people on the Israeli side, that they're losing loved ones in this too. They're stuck in this crossfire too. People who don't have political agendas and don't have religious agendas and things of that nature. Again, the when ideologies clash and politics clash, innocent people pay the price, and that's across the board every single time. The wealthy elite don't get hurt, politicians don't get hurt. The lobbies and the corporations, they don't get hurt. The innocent people who are just trying to survive every single day get hurt, and that goes beyond Israel and Palestine. This is life. So keep shouting from the rooftops. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. And and something that I tell my students all the time, like, if someone's gonna hate you for your opinion, then they're probably not your friend anyway. So keep shouting it.
Big facts, big facts. Eddie, you wanna drop anything before we move on to the dream team?
A little bit. I know that you wanted to end on a high note, but or a lighter note, I should say. And I know that I don't have any facts. I'm not a historian. I'm not a great researcher. So I usually step back and I let y'all rock and I shut up and listen when I know that you guys have researched and you have facts. But from like an opinion standpoint, like, it's just like going off of what you said, where you just want to see people support not killing innocent civilians. It just seems like the simplest ask of people, and excuse me, it seems like giving that kind of support, it offends people, like you're against them as an ideology, as a people, and it's honestly not that. You just want to see the killing of innocent people on both sides cease, and from an opinion standpoint, it just doesn't make sense why, if you have a war between you as a state and a terrorist group that is in another occupied territory, and you can't really get to them because they're betwixt in between civilians and they're underground. Why wouldn't you send a team to go find them? If you have like your military is trained to be a military, they are trained to go find someone and take them out, instead of bombing the entire state. Like, if they were hiding in your state, you would not be bombing your entire state saying, well, they're down there somewhere.
There has to be a better way, right? Like, there just has to be a better way than just indiscriminately bombing, right? Because I mean, that's the logic, right? Like, as AD said, that's the logic that Israel is using. Oh, well, Hamas has embedded itself, right, in the civilian population. They've embedded themselves, in these hospitals, in these schools, right? They've built these tunnels underneath all of these things, which, again, to be completely fair, that in itself is a war crime, right? You can't use civilians as shields, right? So again, we're not just talking about one side here, right? We're talking about a conflict on both sides. However, when you think about the conditions of Gaza, 2.2 million people jam-packed, right, in such a small space, and you don't have control of the air, you don't have control of the water, you don't have control of the borders, these groups have very little else to do, right? I'm not justifying what they're doing. I'm trying to provide some type of reasoning to what they're doing, right? And trying to provide some type of a lens as to the severity of problems that exist in Gaza, right? I mean, just in the past couple of days, Israel had been bombing this refugee camp, right? The Jabalia refugee camp. It's a refugee camp because in 1948, thousands and thousands of Palestinians were displaced from their homelands and had to settle or were displaced into Gaza, right? This is why the Jabalia camp exists in the first place. It's from an original displacement, right? And now they're being bombed, okay? So, right, we get the complexity, but we also understand that it's not that complex. Right, there has to be a better way. As AD said, right, it's not that difficult, right? If you are a top military, you should be able to pinpoint individuals, right, and go in and pinpoint those individuals and do what you have to do, not just drop bombs on entire neighborhoods, right? And so let's bring it back in, right? As we said last episode, free Palestine, right? We just want to see peace, right? We just want to see an end to the killing. It's gone too far. I think everyone has agreed that it's gone too far, right? It's become disproportionate, right? And there needs to be a ceasefire, right? So let's bring it back in, folks. Let's end on a high note, as we do every episode, with our beloved dream team. For this episode, we're gonna cover the wild card game, the two wild card games from the Eastern and Western Conference, as well as the day one of round one of the 2023 MLS playoffs. If you don't know, the first round, round one of MLS playoffs this year is new. It's a 3-game series, our best of 3 series rather. One game is held at the higher seed, the next game is held at the lower seed, and if the third game is necessary, then it will be held at the higher seed. So we're going to cover the first game of round one, starting with the Eastern Conference.
First I just want to point out that the 3-game series in soccer is just stupid. Like,
it's the Americanization of soccer. That's what it is. It's the Americanization of soccer.
That's ridiculous. But anyway, our East Dream Team. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet for y'all today. So, starting off hot, New York Red Bulls, Elias Manuel. All right, I had the Red Bulls won 5-2 against Charlotte in the Eastern Wild Card match. And Charlotte has some Dream Team members themselves. All right, the first one is Kerwin Vargas with the bicycle kick. If y'all missed it, you need to go watch the clip. Like, stop, like, press pause, go watch it, because bicycle kicks are dope. And I appreciate the notes on bicicleta, because it was just incredible stuff. Great touch, way to find it. Absolutely impressive. And then, the heart and soul of Charlotte, the Crown Prince, Patrick Aguimang, pure determination, came off the bench. This kid is absolutely special.
Callie, if I may.
You may.
That man is killing it, man. That man is just... He's been back and forth between the first team and the MLS Next Pro team. I'm forgetting what they're called. What's the Charlotte?
Isn't it like
whatever?
It's Crown City or something like that?
Crown City. So yeah, something like that. But man, this dude, he is going to be special, and I'm super excited to watch him going
Crown
forward.
Legacy
This is his Crown Legacy. Thank you. So very dope name. And that man's been balling. He's been balling. He's scoring goals on both levels. So he's showing that he's not just effective on the MLS Next Pro, but also on the MLS level, right? Even in important game time situations, right? They lost, what was it 5-2, Callie?
Yeah.
But they look good. I mean, whatever. It's still a young team, so we'll see how they go going forward. But Patrick Aguimang, high ceiling.
Yeah, and then our last member of the Dream Team is Nathan Hariel from Philadelphia. They won 3-1 against the Revs. It was the second of the season, but I mean, we're talking about a young buck in the Crown Prince. Harold is only 22 years old, and he's a Florida boy from the Tampa area. All right, he's from a town called Oldsmar. It's very, very small, really cool farming town. They actually have kind of a cool history, but I won't get into it too much. Really deep kind of. I mean, I say cool from a historical standpoint, but very deep, like agrarian kind of farming history with some. They have a cool story about kind of like plantation of broccoli too, which is always fun to talk about. But unfortunate for them. But yes, this kid, young buck, coming up when one of the better producing MLS clubs in. He came up through the academy. Played in the USL with Bethlehem Steel. Came up through Philadelphia Union 2, and since 2021 he's been with the club. It's only his second goal in 55 appearances, but and he's a defender, which we all love a defender goal. So
we'll come back to that match. During the footnote segment, unfortunately. Yeah. But AD, you want to take us through the Western Conference?
I do want to take you through the Western Conference. So first off, in the matchup between LAFC and Vancouver, we have Denis Bouanga, who scored a brace against Vancouver, helping them win their match 5-2. Number 99 absolutely makes putting the stunner off in the top corner look easy from a long ball from Chiellini, and he hits the backflip celly as cool as you like, as they say on EAFC, FIFA, whatever you want to call it these days. And he placed his second on a free kick set piece move that gave him an undefended run and looked like he was just shooting in the training grounds. Went under the entire defense. Fun times. That's 22 on the season for him. We're going to Jesus Murillo, who is also on LAFC, who scored the club's final goal of the game. He's a Dream Team debutant, one of three, and this is his first goal of the season. So we're happy to see the ball finally find the back of the net for this center back. The Vancouver defense lost the Colombian in the free kick, and in the corner kick, and he rose up to finish it with his head. Easy. The third Dream Team player on the west side is Sam Adekugbe from Vancouver. The Canadian finishes a header for the other side that was in this match, where we see in the middle, we see him sky in the middle of the LAFC defense, and he heads the ball past the keeper off a free kick placed on a silver platter by Ryan Gauld. Great for him. Great to see him get his first MLS goal. Moving on to the match between Sporting Kansas City and St. Louis City, we have Logan Ndembe, who is our last Dream Team debutant, and he scored his first goal of the season as well. He put a rocket past the keeper, catching St. Louis City's defense off guard when Sporting Kansas City threw it in from off the touchline, and he scored that from the left back spot. So shout out left backs, shout out all these defenders scoring goals in this week. The last one is Gadi Kinda, from Sporting Kansas City as well, and his goal helped Sporting Kansas City beat St. Louis 4-1. Along with Logan Dembe, and this is Kinda's fourth on the season. He had amazing ball control and balance as he was fighting defenders off, and he took a shot from outside of the box that just bends past Roman Burki. So nice to see the goal for the Ethiopian-born Israeli national. And that's your Dream Team.
Hey, appreciate y'all. So listen, let's wrap it up quickly with the footnotes segment. Let's stay with the playoffs. Damn, we got to the playoffs, but racism is there waiting for us, unfortunately. So as Callie mentioned, big shout out to Nathan Harriel, who scored for Philadelphia Union in the 3-1 win against the New England Revolution. Unfortunately, Philadelphia Union also got smacked with some racism charges. Kai Wagner was a left back of Philadelphia Union. Came for our guy, Bobby Wood. Bobby is black. Bobby is back. Wood, unfortunately. And unfortunately for Kai Wagner, man's called Bobby Wood a racial slur, an anti-Asian racial slur in German. Not realizing that Bobby Wood speaks German, right? Because the man played football in Germany for a number of years, right?
Do your research,
again,
kids.
if you don't know, do your research, man. If you're gonna be racist, do your research, bro. Like at least be educated about it. But that's the thing about racism. There's not a lot of education or logic behind it, unfortunately. So yeah, big shout out to Bobby Wood. Again, if you don't know, born in Hawaii, we made this melanation delegation revelation earlier in the season with Bobby Wood. He's half black and half Japanese. His dad is black, his mom is Japanese. And he's been having a solid season, right? I mean, I think his the start of the season was a lot more productive than it has been recently. But he's been up there playing consistently for the New England Revolution, putting his time in, and then he gets hit with this racial slur, this anti-Asian racial slur. So a number of reports have said that MLS is working with Black Players for Change on how to navigate this situation. So big shout out to them. But of course, this is not the first racist incident that MLS has had this season. We talked extensively about DC United's problems from their trainer to Taxi Funtas, his double violation, his double racist violations stemming back from last year to this year. And we also have I think it was New York Red Bulls. They had Dante. I could be saying his last name wrong. Dante Van Zier. They're one of their DPs actually. Used a racial slur against our guy, Jeremy Ebobisse, of San Jose Earthquake. That was earlier in April. But as we see, again throughout this season, racism has plagued MLS, right? And so, again, we're going to continue to speak truth to power. We're going to continue to demand, justice, right, and peace, right? There has to be a better way, right? This cannot be the way, right? Whether it's countries dropping bombs on innocent people, or racists being allowed to play in our leagues, right? That there has to be a better way. So, Callie, AD, is there anything that you want to close with?
Yeah, it's just wild that this is still such a rampant problem in MLS. It seems that they're good at addressing certain social issues, but this is one that they don't seem to be able to tackle, which I think speaks more into American culture than we realize. MLS is great with certain things. This is not one of them. I feel like they still haven't. They don't really drop the hammer when it comes to this, unfortunately. Again, Taxi was able to get away with it once, and finally after the second time, he was gone. And now there's a new mandate going around that the MLS is apparently going to ban flags at stadiums, which obviously if someone wants to support Palestine or anybody for that matter, that silences that too. So again, kind of what I mentioned earlier, use your voice, say it loud, be disruptive. Protests aren't meant to be comfortable. Protests aren't meant to be convenience. They unfortunately, the very essence of them, they have to be unconventional. They have to be uncomfortable. They may lead to personal repercussions sometimes, but if you feel strongly about it, you got to stand up. So I'm hoping to see some sort of reaction from MLS fans. My expectations from the league are pretty low, but from MLS fans around, especially now playoffs, like the spotlight's a little brighter on them now. I'm hoping people kind of say fuck you and figure it out. So,
AD, final thoughts?
Y'all said it. All I gotta say is free the guys.
You already know what it is. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for joining us for another episode. Go ahead and follow us on all the socials. Listen, them socials are too long.
You know what they are. If you're listening, you know what they are.
You know what they are, damn it. You know what they are, damn it. So go ahead and keep following us. And go ahead, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And with that, we will catch y'all next time. Peace.
Stop doing your racism.
Too bomb clad black for them.